Good morning, everyone.
Yes. So I think it will be all right. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Af-
Sir,
yeah.
shall we start?
Yes, Kurian, you can carry on.
Yeah. So, let's start. I take it as an honor and privilege to welcome and introduce my beloved teacher, Dr. M. Ramachandran, to this August gathering. Students call him MRC with love. He is professor in the Department of Economics at Pondicherry Central University. His areas of specialization are monetary economics, open economy, macroeconomics, and applied econometrics. He has served in various capacities in the Gokhale Institute, Pune, University of Mumbai, Mehta School of Economics, etc. Apart from that, he was the Reserve Bank of India Chair Professor in the Institute of Social and Economic Change, Bangalore, during 2005-6, and he has also served as Registrar of Pondicherry University. Dr. M. Ramanathan sir has acted as President and Vice President of TIES, the Indian Econometric Society. That by itself is the exhibition of the fact that he is an authority in the arena of econometrics. He is a man with great values. I had been to his home and to his department several times. He is a teacher whom I see with great admiration. In Bible, it said that you can know a tree by its fruits. And our dear, respected, beloved Dr. M. Ramanand sir is known for his research contributions, and that too with focus on quality that has been applauded by various quarters. To name a few of his contributions, till date, Dr. M. Ramanand sir has guided 12 PhDs. He has got 80 plus publications in various national and international journals with high impact factors. He has acted as resource person for at least 700 plus renowned institutions of eminence across the globe. It's worth mentioning that all his PhD scholars are working in renowned institutions across the globe. So, in short, he is a resource person who is very much resourceful. So, let's listen to his words of wisdom. Welcome, sir, and over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Kurian. At the outset, I would like to thank Father Alex, the manager of the college, Dr. Stephen Matthew, the principal of the college, Father Jins, the bursar, Dr. Jisa George, the head of the department, I and my friend, the coordinator of this conference, Mr. Kurian John, for giving me this opportunity to be with you today. This institution's St. Stephen College, Ullaur, is very close to my heart for a number of reasons, and I'll be delighted to continue my association with the college as much as possible in the rest of my career. I also feel extremely proud of visiting this place, which is happened to be the homeland of our former President of India, Dr. K.R. Narayanan, who conferred the doctorate degree to me in the year 1994 in the University of Hyderabad. So with this, brief uh, introduction, let me get into the subject now. Now, this is a bit challenging for me because this is not something usual. Okay. So, how do we, the major problem for the researchers in the recent time, uh, choosing a topic and getting an idea, okay, getting an idea, uh, which has the potential to do some research and bring out some value addition to the literature is a major issue. Okay. And what I'm planning to do is I'm going to share some of my whatever little bit successful experience that I have and the experience with some of my, almost all my PhD scholars and who all, did what I had expected from them, and thanks to which they are well placed. Places institutions like IIT, central universities, premier institutions like Madras School of Economics, and abroad. So I thought that I should share my experience, 28 years of my experience of teaching and research, and I'm sure that would be very useful for the young scholars who are looking for doing their PhD and people who are already got registered their PhD program and in the process of doing their research. See, first of all, when you choose a topic, it should have some contemporaneous relationship. For instance, I'm an economist, so obviously I'm bound to take some examples from economics, okay? And which maybe for some of you might be very difficult to follow, but the idea is the same, okay? The logic is the same. In research, what are we supposed to do, okay? Whether it is finance or it is something related to international finance or something related to monetary economics or something related to macro, growth, investment, consumption, whatever it is, okay? You have to first, look at the issue. Okay, for instance, how do I get prompted to an idea? Let me tell you. See, I was looking at the amount of reserve, forex reserve, okay, getting accumulated over a period of time, okay, in the last 3 decades by most of the emerging countries. And if you see India, in 1991, the amount of forex reserve that we were holding is only 4 billion US dollar, okay, and that was not even sufficient to meet, say, 2 months of our import bill. And it was a very humiliating situation that the country was facing. Not only India, most of the emerging countries that time that was a problem. So the entire focus of the policymakers was on basically to build up the reserve immediately, and for that they had to bring out so much of reforms in the forex market as far as the exchange rate policy is concerned. And they moved into they in fact they were they devalued their currency in the early 90s twice, and in the year 1993 March they moved into, I think sometime in early 93 they moved into a sort of managed exchange rate system. So managed exchange rate system means what? Actually, the exchange rate is being determined by market forces, but if there is any undue fluctuations in the exchange rate, that would be managed through official intervention. Suppose if the currency is under pressure to depreciate for some reasons, and the authority is supposed to intervene and absorb the shock by selling foreign exchange in the market, and vice versa. Suppose if the rupee for some reason is under pressure to appreciate, they are supposed to absorb the excess supply of foreign currency comes into the country, and through such a leaning against wind approach, in the forex market, they are supposed to maintain the stability and orderly condition in the forex market. So this policy continued for a while. And at the same time, they were, the kind of lessons, bad lessons that they had in the early 90s prompted them that they have to have some adequate amount of reserve in the kitty, because that is a capacity to intervene in the forex market. Okay, and that is the time that a lot of reforms happened on the convertibility on capital account. So we were slowly opening the door for capital flows, cross-border capital flows, and obviously that would bring a lot of pressure on exchange rate and its volatility. Okay, so to ensure some stability, the central bank was to intervene in the forex market, and to ensure for that they need to have adequate reserve in their hand as capacity to intervene. So by 2000 also, they were in a position to build up the reserve to the tune of say 40 billion US dollar. In fact, the then RBI governor, Dr. Y.V. Reddy, used to describe this journey as a situation of agony to comfort. So when we had 40 billion US dollar, okay, worth of reserve, which was equivalent to say about 6 months of import bill, we were feeling very comfortable. But in the 2001, 2002, 3, 4, the reserve crossed 100 billion, 150 billion. In 2013 and all, it became, three crossed 300 billion. And, over a period of time, we have been accumulating reserve. And now, as per the latest data, we have 561 billion US dollar worth of reserve. Okay. Now, this is a kind of observation I am making about how the reserve is growing over a period of time with India, as well as the official reserve accumulation by the authority across various emerging economies. Okay, this is happening in the last 3 decades. Every country is doing. Now, this prompted me to look at the issue. Why so much of reserve? Because reserve accumulation increases the cost also. Okay, reserve has its own benefit because it's a capacity to intervene in the market, and they intervene in the market basically to ensure stability of exchange rate. So they claim that every country. I was looking at the objective of many central banks, and that central banks which actively intervene in the forex market. Okay, they all claim that they want to bring some orderly condition in the forex market. That means undue fluctuation in exchange rate should be avoided. That means when there is a sharp fall in exchange rate, they have to sell. When there is a sharp rise in the value of domestic currency, they have to buy, so that such kind of wild fluctuations can be avoided. If this is the stated objective of the authorities, and there is a cost involved in accumulating reserve, of course there is a benefit attached with this reserve. Is there any optimal level of reserves to be held? Okay, so I took up this issue because when there is a cost, if every additional dollar which is accumulated with the authority has a marginal cost, but at the same time it has a marginal benefit also. So what is optimal reserve holding? Somewhere this cost must be equal in principle. Okay, so I was thinking that is there any way out to work out the optimal reserve for first of all for India? Okay, so but the optimal reserve itself will vary depending upon the expansion of export, expansion of import, expansion of domestic money supply, because there are so many factors affecting this optimal reserve. Now here, when you come to the stage, as a researcher, I observed that the country is accumulating so much of reserve. Then I started reading the literature. What could be the reason behind such accumulation? Is there any way of, because there is a cost involved and there is a benefit involved, is there any way of identifying optimal level of reserve? So this question should come to my mind. So any researcher, okay, who observes such a phenomenon, which is very important, what's happening over a period of time, okay, or across different regions, what is happening, you observe a phenomenon, okay. Once you observe what is happening with us over a period of time, then comes to the question of the identifying the issue. Identifying issue is possible only when you go through the literature. You have to start collecting. Now, I have just observed there is a tremendous accumulation of reserve, heightened reserve accumulation in the last 3 decades. So that is prompting me, is there any cost associated with that? Yes, there is a cost. Is there any benefit? Yes, there are well-documented empirical literature that the countries with adequate reserve could resolve so many issues. So, but then, if there is always the cost is higher than, okay, when the reserve exceeds a certain optimal level, the cost exceeds the benefit. Okay, so that prompted me identifying an optimal level of reserve. For that, we have to find out the methodology, okay, the theoretical framework, and that prompted me to read the literature. This is how a researcher must, okay, identify an issue by observing the data, or by reading the literature. You have to identify an issue which is very important. Okay, suppose if someone is asking me that I'd like to estimate the money demand function, you see, it has no relevance nowadays, because estimating a money demand function, predicting the money demand, was a very important aspect of policy making, in which money supply was taken as a target variable for the central banks. But we no longer target the money supply nowadays. No central bank is trying to do that. Money has gone endogenous and it is being used as an indicator variable. So this kind of research, takes a back seat. Okay, it is not very important. It has no contemporaneous relevance. So when you choose a particular issue, you should understand that it has contemporaneous relevance. We keep on accumulating reserve and there is a cost. So what should be is there any optimal level of reserve, and what are the factors determine the optimal level? So I had to look for the literature first time. As a researcher, freshly, I am looking at any other PhD scholar or MPhil scholar who is intending to start a research. Okay, so I started looking at what is the optimal level of research, what is the literature on this. So I came across number of theoretical, literature, and I was trying to modify those literature depending upon the recent development that has happened in this particular context, and estimated. Then I have to choose an econometric model. I have to choose the variables. I have to choose the data. Okay, for some time the data itself is a big challenge. It may not be directly available, so you'll have to use sometimes a proxy for certain variables for which the data in the public domain is not available. Sometimes some data should be estimated. All those things I will explain when I take up a case study. Okay, so once you decide the methodology, okay, the methodology could be, it's like methodology involves a few things, like what is the model? Okay, the model will tell you what are the choice of the variables. Okay, and then you have to decide. You need to have a cross-sectional data, or time series data, or panel data. So what is the sample period? These are the aspect of the methodology to be used. Okay, so once you decide this, once you choose the technique, estimate the model, and identify what would be the possible optimal level of reserve. So having done this, you'll have to think of what would be the journal to which this paper can be published. Your research should always have some kind of value addition over the existing literature. People have estimated, for instance, to identify the optimal level of reserve, generally the buffer stock model is being used. Buffer stock model of Frankel and Jovanovic is the basic theoretical framework. And the theory says that if you keep on accumulating reserve, there is a rise in the opportunity cost of holding reserve. But if you don't have adequate reserve, then in times of crisis, you will have to incur some kind of macroeconomic adjustment cost. So, with the fall in reserve, one cost is rising. With the rise in reserve, another cost is rising. So, the optimal level of reserve is one that minimizes the expected sum of these two costs. Okay, a beautiful theoretical framework was given by Frankel and Jovanovic some time back. Okay, so that is the starting point, the buffer stock model, which is being used to estimate the reserve demand function to identify the optimal level of reserve. So, but of late, you'll have to see whether that benchmark model is relevant to explain the recent phenomenon. Okay, so one must examine that, and if the model is not adequate enough to capture the dynamics that is happening in the recent time period, then you have to modify this model. Okay, you have to keep modifying this model, and some new variable might enter, and specification will be changing. So many things that researcher will have to look at, and that would bring evaluation to the literature. It's not simply using a model which is used by someone else for that country. So let me do it for India because no one has done it for India. I don't encourage that kind of research with my students. Okay, you have to have some original thinking and contribution to the literature. There should be a validation to the literature. Then only that paper will be respected by or accepted by for publications in good journals. Okay. So when I talked about this optimal level of reserve, when that issue came to my mind, see, it's only, how did I get this idea? Let me again tell you. In the Indian Econometric Society conference, which was held in IIM Kozhikode some time back, I was asked to be a panel member, okay, to discuss about what is happening in the forex market. And that is the time that I looked at some data. What's happening to reserve, what is happening to exchange rate, what is happening to exchange rate volatility, what is happening to intervention over a period of time. Just plots of the data with the graphs I had to discuss with them. So when I made this presentation for a specific reason, many ideas came to my mind. This is how you have to explore the ideas and research. Okay, many things came to my mind, and that gave an opportunity for me to publish a number of papers in international journals. So every paper brings a value addition to the literature, something new. Okay, so I got this optimal level of reserve paper published in Economics Letters in 2004 when it was, because it's a small piece. Okay, small methodology, small analysis. It runs into in print, say 4 pages, but getting a publication in economics letter is a big problem actually. Okay, it's very tough and very big challenge. And you can count people in India who have published, but the success behind this publication is getting an idea. Okay, getting an idea, extending the model, which accounts for the recent developments. Okay, is a major thing. So what you people as researchers, okay, should avoid, let me tell you, don't replicate what others have done. Okay, so it is done for Pakistan, it is done for Singapore, it is done for US, but it is not done for India. No, that should not be the case. When you do it for India, when you do it for a bunch of countries using panel data, cross-sectional data, whatever it is, you should think that what could be your contribution here, which is being missed out. This is what myself and my students keep discussing in my office room always. That how to come out with a novel idea and verify that. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, in research. Now, so what is this intervention? See, suppose exchange rate, suppose appreciates. This appreciation can happen because there is capital inflow. So what the authority should do to avoid such appreciation, they have to buy. That means the official reserve holding increases. Suppose there is a capital flight, there is a chance that the domestic currency will be under pressure to depreciate. And that is the time the central bank will have to come to the market and sell. So this is a kind of leaning against wind policy. Okay. So I used to tell my students that suppose the change in exchange rate, okay, the change in exchange rate is normally distributed like this. Okay, normally distributed. Now, there is an equal chance of appreciation, there is an equal chance of depreciation. So that means there is the authority, when it intends to lean against the wind to ensure stability in the forex market, they will be the buying opportunity and selling opportunity will be equal. So under such arrangement, and there cannot be any accumulation of reserve. That you must understand this. Okay, because when there is a pressure on rupee to appreciate, you have to buy, and when there is a pressure on rupee to depreciate, you have to sell. If this pressure is normally distributed, then it doesn't lead to any reserve accumulation that we experience with most of the emerging countries. Okay, so the first problem came to my mind is this. The question came to my mind is this. Second, whether change in exchange rate is normally distributed or not. If you look at our exchange rate, rupee US dollar exchange rate, then it goes like this. it is continuously on a secular rise. That means the rupee continuously depreciates against the dollar over a period of time. There is a secular decline in the value of rupee against the dollar. So that means when you take change in this kind of trend, okay, it is going to be positively skewed. Positively skewed means what? There were too much of depreciating pressure the country confronted than the appreciating pressure on domestic currency. So under such circumstances, the RBI, the central bank or the authority, had to sell frequently than buying foreign exchange reserve. So this observation prompted me to think. Then, if the stated objective is different from what actually the RBI is doing, okay, the stated objective is different from what RBI is actually doing. Something is there. Okay. So what has to be done? There is some hidden agenda. Okay, there is something which needs to be discovered that leads to reserve accumulation. Okay, and that is the main thing that what could be the reason? Okay, now I have got a question in my mind. And I was thinking about it. You see, there must be some kind of asymmetry in the intervention, parts market intervention itself. This I was thinking. Okay, what is this asymmetry? Because when there is 1% appreciating pressure, they have to sell. When there is 1% depreciating pressure also, if they treat this appreciating pressure and depreciating pressure equally important, then buying and selling will take place. It is a policy of leaning against the wind. But always, when there is a fall in currency, it is good for the exporters. It encourages the export, and it will have a control on import, provided import is price elastic. Okay. Now, this is good for the balancing the current account. Okay, keeping the current account under control. Now, the idea is very simple. There is a pressure on rupee to depreciate, so the RBI is supposed to intervene and download the reserve, run down the reserve to prevent the depreciation in the market. Okay, but they might take this as lenient because they don't sell the dollar. When they are supposed to do that in the market, they don't sell it. So under such circumstances, because the fall in exchange rate helps the exporters and it discourages import. It's good for keeping the current account deficit under control. So there is a lenient view with respect to depreciation. So they don't sell, they don't run down the reserve. But when there is appreciating pressure, suppose there is a continuous inflow of capital, that's what we had experienced in many episodes in the past 3 decades. There will be continuous pressure on rupee to appreciate. Appreciate means what? The rupee price of the dollar is going down. Rupee becomes stronger against the dollar. But this would affect the export. Okay, so the appreciating currency will make the export cheaper, export costlier, and import cheaper, which might widen the current account deficit. So there is some amount of, in case, if there is some amount of fear in the minds of the Reserve Bank of India policy making authority, whenever there is an appreciating pressure, they become a little aggressive and buy foreign exchange to prevent further appreciation. Okay, but when there is a pressure on rupee to depreciate, they don't sell. Such kind of asymmetric intervention over a period of time might have led the accumulation of reserve. So this is coming to my mind. This might be the reason. Okay, let me go through the literature. Now, the literature tells you that there is no opportunity cost, macroeconomic adjustment cost, and the optimal reserve demand function is something like this. I'll tell you this. The theoretical things, the reserve demand function is written like this. Say A1 sigma t square plus A2. This is minus, okay, some interest rate plus epsilon t. This is the stock of reserve at time period t. This is the volatility of reserve increment. This variable comes with a theoretical framework. and this is an opportunity cost. See, the interest rate, this is the rate of interest. Okay, this is the rate. This could have been used as an opportunity cost of holding reserve. Holding reserve doesn't yield much, less than 1% is the return. Whereas there are other investment opportunities where if you deploy this reserve, then you would have earned some higher return. That is the opportunity cost. But liquidity of this reserve is very important because this serves as an instrument to intervene in the forex market whenever there is a crisis situation. So this is a basic model used in the literature to estimate the reserve demand function. Now, you can also see this as a reaction function. Whenever there is a rise in interest rate, they try to economize the reserve holding, so the demand for reserve falls. Whenever there is a rise in the volatility of reserve increment, and this is going to increase that's going to increase the reserve demand. Basically, it has a precautionary motive, transaction motive, and it serves as a insurance or cushion to absorb the shocks from the forex market. So this is the basic idea behind the reserve demand function. Now, this is not sufficient enough for me to address the issue which I have in my hand. Okay, so I have to see whether this reserve accumulation, can be differently explained by appreciating exchange rate and depreciating exchange rate. Now, for that, I need to find a model. So this is a benchmark model which can help me, but this should be modified to incorporate my idea. This model should be modified to incorporate my idea, wherein I can capture whether the intervention or reserve accumulation asymmetrically react to appreciating pressure and depreciating pressure. Okay, so that idea should be incorporated in the model. Now let me tell you, this is the first time in the literature. Okay, I'm thinking that to augment this reserve demand equation, to bring in this asymmetry. Okay, that's where you have to start your research. Okay, you have to reach this level before you are collecting data, analysis, variable. This is the way you have to proceed. I have identified a problem because the intervention leaning against wind policy cannot lead to accumulation of so much of reserve. So there must be some hidden agenda in the intervention. In my view, I think that the intervention could be asymmetric. Asymmetric in the sense they are lenient with rupee depreciation. They are aggressive in preventing rupee appreciation. And there is an economic logic behind that. They would like to encourage export, discourage import. And under such circumstances, definitely there is a fear of currency appreciation. There is a fear of currency appreciation. If there is a fear of currency appreciation, intervention is going to be asymmetric without any doubt. Okay. Now, to empirically verify this, I have to modify this reaction function. Okay. What I did is, I expanded this function, lambda et, I put a, lambda 2, okay, et d plus the reserve. Okay, this is the A represents exchange in exchange rate. This is the written exchange rate change. Okay, not the exchange rate as such, change in exchange rate, because change in exchange rate tells you the direction in which exchange rate is moving. So in our country, exchange rate is being measured rupee dollar. Okay, so rupee in the numerator, dollar in the denominator. So rise is depreciation because the price of dollar is increasing. So fall is appreciation. So you have to keep that in mind. So appreciating pressure means all positive change in exchange rate will be this variable. And this is depreciating pressure. Okay, sorry, this is negative changes and this is positive changes. Okay. Now the reaction. So when there is an appreciating pressure, when this is negative, okay, they have to buy. Okay, they have to buy. So when exchange rate appreciates, when it is negative, they have to buy, and that means this lambda 1 measures the response of RBI reaction to appreciating pressure. So the response of reserve, this lambda 2 measures the response of reserves to intervention to depreciating pressure. Now, if it is leaning against the wind policy, this model tells you that lambda 1, if there is symmetry, lambda 1 equals to lambda 2. So, instead of using separating this exchange rate, you can use one variable, exchange rate itself. Say that if the reaction is symmetric, but if this is not equal, then there is asymmetry. So my hypothesis in this context is the reaction to appreciating pressure, that is lambda 1, is greater than to the depreciating pressure. If this is the case, then there is evidence of asymmetry. Now, what I had in my mind, what I had in my mind becomes true. If I'm getting this evidence with the data, then I'm establishing what I had in my mind. And that becomes really a contribution to explain, especially in the context of the reason for such heightened reserve accumulation can be explained. Okay. So this is an idea I thought about. There are a number of reasons. There could be other reasons also. But my aspect is this. This might be the reason. There is a fear of currency appreciation that might have prompted the authority to react asymmetrically to appreciating currency and depreciating currency. Depreciating currency means they will be lenient. That means the lambda 2 will be 0. Okay, it is insignificant, whereas the lambda 1 will be highly significant. If that is the case, then the asymmetry is very much evident there. And it is only such asymmetry leads to rise in the reserve accumulation over a period of time. Some kind of explanation which goes beyond what the authority is claiming, explicitly claiming that our intervention aims at stabilizing or bringing some orderly condition in the forex market, and we are not concerned about targeting exchange rate. We don't have any asymmetry. Our policy is leaning against wind, but ultimately it cannot explain such a huge rise. In fact, India, by holding $561 billion US dollar worth of reserve, India stands fifth largest reserve holding country in the world. Okay, definitely this is an issue to be taken up and it should be researched thoroughly. And this is how, when you choose an idea, first you have to observe the data or you have to go through the literature. What is more important in the recent time? Okay, in the recent time, which issue becomes more important, which will be useful. A research on that will be useful for the policymakers, for investors, for consumers, and ultimately, that will fetch you a good publication to build up your career and to enrich your research knowledge and teaching, enrich your teaching experience, teaching knowledge also. Okay, so this is the idea. The original model is augmented by incorporating these two things to have a proper, to basically confirm whether my hypothesis is true or not. Sometimes you may not get proper result. That means you have to think in an alternative way. Okay, this is not working, so you have to think in an alternative way. Now, I have come to the stage of identifying an issue to be researched. Okay. Now, the next question is, I have this model to be estimated. So, I have certain variables. Okay. Now, I have to see whether data will be available or not. Okay. How do we construct? See, for instance, you take reserve. Now, the time series data on reserve is available on weekly basis published by Reserve Bank of India. So, I have no problem. So, I can use either monthly data or weekly data or quarterly data or annual, whatever it is. But these kind of analysis, it is better to use high frequency data. So the highest frequency at which the data on reserve is available is weekly. Okay, the data, then the sample period. Okay, the sample period. So from which period onwards it is available? Whatever period from which it starts, say 1991, we have weekly data, or 1993, we have weekly data. Choose that as a starting point for which the data is available. Then up to date, you collect the data. So as far as the time series data on reserve is concerned, RBI in the website it is publishing. So I have no problem. Now when you come to interest rate, again, since it's a weekly data, you should have weekly data on interest rate also. So what is the alternative? Normally, so I thought that 3 months treasury bill rate, government treasury bill rate would be a good proxy because the rate is being determined by the market forces. Okay, so that would be an alternative investment for government investment for the authority. So I thought treasury bill rate could be an opportunity cost variable for which weekly data is available. You have to check. So I collected weekly data on interest rate. Now this is volatility of variance of, and in fact this is a variance of what you say reserve increment, which is being, there is a theoretical framework how this variable comes into this function. Now this is something to be estimated, Now what is the methodology should I adopt to estimate, to construct the second moment of this reserve increment? Okay, that itself is a big research. Okay, that itself involves some amount of research and estimation. You got to go through the literature. What is the convention? And that should be a time series data and the volatility of reserve increment. So what is the convention? Convention is basically taking the moving average of the variance data. What is the variance? The deviation of actual data from its mean. How the actual data is spread around its mean. It talks about basically the distribution of reserve increment. Okay, but there are sophisticated methodologies available to construct the time varying variance process. So the one such methodology is R-slash model. I think some of the commerce students and economic students who are into research, especially in the financial, doing research in financial market, might be aware of this. Okay, so you have to choose an appropriate model. I have used an appropriate Gauss model to estimate this, construct this variable. So this is data. This data is not available in the public domain. Okay, whereas these two data are available. So this needs to be constructed. So that involves identifying an appropriate methodology and construct a variable. So I have constructed this variable using an appropriate Gauss model. So I am ready with the data on this, data on this, data on this. Because ultimately this comes from this variable, reserve increment and its volatility. Okay, and this data is available. Now exchange rate, rupee US dollar exchange rate is the one which is largely used because dollar is the internationally accepted medium of exchange, and in most of the applied research, when they think of exchange rate, any country, they take their currency resource US dollar because it enjoys that hegemony in the international market. And so I used exchange rate, but I split the exchange rate into two components. Okay, so what I did, this ETA is nothing but change in exchange rate, which is less than zero. That means appreciation. The rupee price of US dollar falls. If there is a change, if it is negative, then it is less than zero. All this will be this variable. Suppose if there is a depreciating pressure, when there is a rise, positive change, those data will be zero here. So I am splitting the change in exchange rate into two variables, separate variable. One is appreciation, another is depreciation. Okay, basically to understand whether the reserve, what is this reserve? Reserve is the total reserve. Suppose if they buy with respect to appreciating pressure, if they buy, this will go up. This will go up. So the lambda 1 will measure the response of reserve to appreciating exchange rate, and lambda 2 will measure the response of exchange rate to depreciating pressure. Okay, this is the case study I thought I should discuss with you. That will give you some idea of what needs to be done before choosing, okay, an idea. Then how to implement that, how to execute empirically, how to conduct the analysis. Okay, these are the different steps that you want to systematically follow if at all you want to succeed with your research and publications. Okay, Now it is done. Having done this, I wanted to estimate this model. Now, variables and the data are ready. Now I have to choose because the data are there and all these variables. These are the parameters to be estimated, especially for especially in this context. I am more concerned about the magnitude of lambda 1 and lambda 2. As I told you, if lambda 1 equals to lambda 2, then my effort is gone because they are leaning against wind. If lambda 1 is greater than lambda 2, then there is asymmetry. If they are not equal, there is asymmetry. Suppose if lambda 1 is greater than lambda 2, then I am happy. Because the idea that I had in my mind becomes true. Okay, so I will definitely document this evidence, and definitely I'm hopeful to get a publication. Okay, because that will be a starting point for any researcher. So when you do some research, after publication of your research output, if anyone wants to do some research in the same area, they have to refer your article. Without referring your article, there should not be any scope for them to do that. So that should be the level that you have to reach when you are choosing an idea and take up for research. Okay, now the next question is, what should be the econometric methodology to be used to estimate these parameters? Alpha 1, alpha 2, lambda 1, lambda 2. That is a major challenge. See, the conventional econometric tools like OLS or any simultaneous equation models and everything is possible provided all of them are stationary variables. Stationarity, non-stationarity is an issue in time series data. I think some of you might be familiar with that. So a researcher at this stage will have to think, okay, whether these variables are now exchange rate is an I1 variable. So change in exchange rate will be also a stationary variable. Because all these conventional econometric tools require the variables to be stationary stochastic process. These two are stationary, so absolutely no problem. And this will be stationary because I have used methodology to construct, okay, a particular variance measure of reserve increment. Okay, that will be stationary process. But this will be I1, means non-stationary. And the I will also be normally I1, non-stationary data. So you have combination of, suppose if all of them are I1, all of them are non-stationary data. I1 in the sense they are integrated process of order 1. So people who know a little bit of time series econometrics can understand this. So these are the issues you have to think about while trying to estimate this econometric model. Okay. So now what happens is, in this case, I have, if all of them are non-stationary, then I can go for co-integration and error correction methodology and do something. If all of them are stationary, I can simply use a GMM method depending upon whether simultaneity is there or not, whether it's a panel data. So some conventional tool like OLS, something can be used. But my problem is, I have a combination of I1 and I0 variable. I have a combination of stationary and non-stationary variable. So I have to choose an appropriate econometric methodology so that the estimates of the coefficients in this model are not questioned by anybody. Okay, so you have to look for such methodology. So one such methodology in this context is proposed is ARDL method. ARDL method for testing long run relationship. Okay. What is this ARDL? Autoregressive distributed lag model. This is an econometric issue. I'm sorry, I cannot, I cannot explain in detail about this. But this is what you need to understand is choosing an econometric tool is very important. Sometimes all might be stationary, but you cannot use ULS because these errors are correlated with some of these explanatory variables. Then you cannot use OLS. You'll have to choose some simultaneous equation framework, or you have to go for some GMM method. So many techniques are available. which will account for simultaneity, autocorrelation, get close analysis. So many things are there. So this is a choice of econometric tool is very important. When you have an issue like this, whatever issues are there, depending upon the issues with the data, relationship, variables, you have to choose the right technique. Okay. So I have chosen this ARDL model because it's a combination of stationary and non-stationary variables. Okay. Now, having chosen this model, it involves different steps. What I did, first I estimated the benchmark model. Second, I estimated. My intention is to obtain the parameters. Second, I estimated the model, which is A1 sigma t square minus A2 I t plus, let us say, A3 delta E t. I put delta here so that you understand it first. Okay. So this is the second model. What is this? I have taken only change in exchange rate here in this model. That means I am thinking that this reserve reaction may be symmetric. This is a benchmark model, and this is a symmetric model in the context in which I am trying to look at this issue. Third one is this one. I am separating this exchange rate into two components, trying to see whether lambda 1 and lambda 2 are different in magnitude. Okay. I am estimating these three models. Okay. First one is this. I'll write it down so that you will find it much easier. This is model 1, model 2, model 3. A1 sigma t square minus A2 IT plus lambda 1 delta ET at appreciation plus lambda 2 delta ET depreciation plus epsilon t. Okay. Every equation has an error term. That's all. Okay. Now, three different models I am estimating. This is the benchmark model, normally called the buffer stock model. This is a symmetric model that captures the leaning against wind approach of the RBA. And this is a asymmetric model. Now, I have estimated all these parameters. And what I found is, I'll tell you, the more crucial, these three models are competing models with each other. Okay? And which one is superior, we need to establish first. And for that, you have to estimate all these three models, find out the coefficients of these two, which is of crucial importance in this context. If there is asymmetry, that amounts to reserve accumulation. That means they keep buying, but they don't sell. Because when there is a rupee depreciation, they are taking a lenient view, because as it would help export and it will discourage import. It's good, let it depreciate. But when there is appreciation, I become aggressive. That should be, if that is the case, lambda 1 should be greater than lambda 2. That should be captured. Okay. So now, as I perceived, in statistical sense, I found lambda 2 is 0. Lambda 2 is 0. Whereas, with respect to appreciating pressure, that is lambda 1 is 0.22, which is highly significant. This is a probability value, highly significant and negative. That means it has the right sign. And that asymmetry is being established by this evidence. Asymmetry is being established by this evidence. Okay. So my hypothesis, the idea that I had in mind is now empirically verified. Okay. Choosing a particular theoretical framework, choosing a particular econometric model, and incorporating my ideas by augmenting the conventional buffer stock model, I could establish, choosing a methodology and data, finally I could establish what I wanted. So now there is evidence Okay, there is evidence. I'm ready for write down my paper. Okay. Now, not only that, generally, what the reviewer, when you submit a paper for a journal, the reviewer wanted to have 100% confirmation. Okay, this lambda 1 is greater than lambda 2, your estimates are fine, but sometime the among this model, which one is superior? That needs to be established. For that, I have to see whether the predictive accuracy, there are a number of ways. You simply take them, this prediction error, some of these criteria, and examine that. Suppose this model has the minimum prediction error as compared to these two, then you can say that this is the best model. So you are confirming that the model that you have chosen is also, you know, certified as the best model with the help of some diagnostic statistics. So what I did, I used another technique called the Diebold-Mariano predictive accuracy test. Okay, so that test will tell you among these three models which one gives minimum prediction error. Minimum prediction error, and I have to use these having estimated all these equations. I have to use that Diebold-Mariano predictive accuracy test to find out which model has minimum prediction error. So this model has some amount of prediction error. This has some amount of prediction error. This has some amount of prediction error. Then across these prediction errors, are they significantly different? That should also be examined, because unless you put in so much of effort to confirm and establish, and there is an empirical evidence which is being certified with a lot of diagnostic statistics, and there is no mistake or there is no scope for any alternative way of thinking, then only your output will be respected for a good journal. Okay, so what I did, I used this Diebold Mariana, and I found that this model is superior over this model, first of all, and this model is superior over this model. That means this model becomes superior over this model. Okay, so out of these three model and the Diebold Mariana, this predictive accuracy test certified that this is the best one, which is very important for me. Okay, and so having reconfirmed and checking the robustness of that, I use this test and establish that this is a superior model over the other two models. Okay, then finally, I have concluded. My conclusion is thus that it's not just a leaning against a wind policy, as it is being claimed by the Reserve Bank of India, that led to the reserve accumulation. It cannot explain. It is the asymmetry in the intervention, in the sense that the response to appreciating pressure is relatively stronger than to depreciating pressure of the same magnitude. Okay, so then that if that is the case, eventually reserve will be accumulated, because you keep buying but you don't sell, and you try to run down the reserve only when there is some kind of abnormal situation like pandemic time, there is a fall in exchange rate, so intervene to prevent that. In the recent time, US inflation and all these things, capital flight was there, so rupee was falling, intervene and prevent. Okay, so this is how, so one has to think on that line. Okay, so the idea with which I started my research is ultimately supported by this empirical evidence. Okay, and that becomes really, this basically reflects. I start with the question: is there any fear of rupee appreciation? And I finally conclude and document: yes, there is a fear of appreciation. And it is the fear of appreciation that led to accumulation of reserve, not just the officially, explicitly stated a claim that we are leaning against the wind. Okay, we are treating exchange rate depreciation appreciation equally. That is not true. There is some hidden agenda. That hidden agenda made them to accumulate so much of. This is one of the plausible explanation that came to my mind. Okay, to understand the reserve accumulation over a period of time. And in the moment I got, and I will show you this publication at the end. Okay, it is a small piece because the idea is very clear, and the estimation required is very simple. for taking India as an example, because it's one of the top reserve holding country. So the introduction built up, okay, introduction, you have to build up this idea. What is this idea? That you cannot explain the reserve accumulation with an idea given by the authority. It is not possible. So this could be the possible reason, the asymmetry and fear of appreciation, all these things you'll have to write. Very briefly, an introduction. Then go for a methodology. So very briefly explain the methodology and start estimating data. Discuss. Methodology means you have to discuss the sample period and frequency of the data, the variables required in the model, okay, and the econometric methodology that you have to use. All these things must be discussed. Once the discussion methodology is over, then whatever empirical results that you generate, you present, and the ultimate you have to certify that the model you have estimated is a relatively better model than the conventional model which are available in the literature. That needs to be certified. Okay, so with that, for that, you have to choose a technique like a Diebold-Mariana predictive accuracy test in this context. So once you do this, then in the concluding remarks, so it runs into only 4 pages in the print. Okay, so I have to choose now at this stage, I have to choose a journal. So this is a small piece of work, but there is a novel idea. There is a novel idea which no one has thought about it so far. So what should be the journal, choice of the journal? There are journals which publish this kind of brief notes. And the topmost among this journal is economics letters. Okay, it will accept the paper only the number of words are 2000. So I had to prune this, write up and all this presentation, everything. Okay, once I'm very confident that I can publish this paper in economics letters, so I have to prune all this stuff. Okay, to suit the requirement of the journal. I have done it, then submitted. Then obviously the reviewer comments will come, and you have to keep revising. Some queries will be asked by other, because when others look at this paper studies, okay, there will be some questions to be raised. Then it will come and you have to revise it. And so choosing a journal for your work is very important. If you feel that economics letters, the possibility is very, very, because the rejection rate in economics letters is more than 90%. Out of 100% paper submitted, more than almost 90 papers will be rejected, because they receive too many good papers. So they may not be able to accommodate all of them in the journal for print. So you have to go for a second best. Second best is applied economics letters. And in your field, it will be different. If you are working in finance, then there are financial economics letters. Okay, applied financial economics. These are the journals, they publish brief articles like this. And if your work is, very elaborate, okay, a lot of estimation, then you can choose a general journals. Suppose, while choosing the journal, depending upon the issue, suppose I'm doing something here with respect to asymmetric intervention in the forex market. There is a journal called the Journal of Economic Asymmetries, and they publish papers which deals with this kind of asymmetries in economics and finance or in any other discipline. So you have to choose. Suppose you are working in the health economics, and there will be Journal of Health Economics. Or you are working in the area of energy, there is energy policy, energy review, energy economics. So choosing the journal is very important once your output is ready. Where to market, and you market it in such a way, the possibility of getting it published is very, very, very high chance. Okay, probability of getting it is very high. Okay, now having chosen the journal, you need to ensure that at least 1 or 2 papers published in the journal, in that particular journal, is being referred in your article. There is no logic here, but any editors, it's a human psychology. Any editor will just look at whether you have gone through this particular journal and referred the articles. Are you reading these articles published in this particular journal, which is very important for the editor. So what normally I advise my student, this is a small trick. Okay, so they suppose the student comes to me, sir, I would like to publish this paper in Australian economic paper. Right. Now go to the reference and the entire reference list. How many papers are being quoted which are published already in Australian economic paper? at least one or two should be there. Okay, that increases the chances of getting it published. These are small things. Then second thing, once you decide that this is a journal that where you want to publish, okay, then you have to decide the what you say that you know the format. Okay, every journal will have its own format of presenting the sections, the tables, style, the tables, and the reference. See, sometimes some journals will have a different style. Generally, Journal of Economic Literature is the style being followed everywhere. So you have to just check that. Economic letters means what is the format they are following. So the title, name, and abstract. Abstract should be very brief. Then sections, table, the style of presenting the table, style of presenting the graph, and the references. Is it in alphabetical order or what is that? How to place others, year, title of the article, journal name, volume, page number, systematically, consistently, very meticulously you have to do. Then the product is ready for sale. Okay, once it is ready, you take a chance. And suppose if it comes for reviewing, suppose the reviewer has raised some questions. Some of these journals, they go for more than one reviewer. So reviewer 1, reviewer 2, reviewer 3, all these fellows might have raised some queries, and some of them will be very important. So you have to very carefully sit and address the questions and issues raised by all these people in the paper and revise it and submit it. Okay, because the revised version most of the time will be sent back to the reviewer, and they will again certify, yes, he has addressed the queries that I have raised, and it is acceptable. So finally the editor will accept the paper. Okay, and again, when you submit a paper for a journal, you see how many issues are there. Okay, suppose if it only 2 issues biannual, then you will have to wait for longer time. If it is quarterly, then the time that you have to wait for will be less. And there are top class journals, they publish 24 issues in a year. Sometimes bi-monthly is also there. Sometimes 2 issues in a month. They are, fortnightly they are publishing. So there, the more papers are getting published. So the chances of getting your paper getting published, as well as the quick, response. Okay, you don't have to wait for longer time. So these are the certain things that you must take into account. This is on the publication side. Now the PhD scholars, the major question for them is, sir, what should be the size of the thesis? Should it be 200 pages, 150 pages? I have guided by now. I think my friend Kurian has taken it from the CV that I have produced 12. Now almost to 15, 16 are already placed and they completed the degree. Now the maximum size of my student's thesis is 120 pages. It's the size does not matter. Okay, size does not matter. The content matters a lot. Generally, I do like this. There should be 3 important objectives. They may be interrelated or they may be completely independent. Sometimes they title the thesis like 3 essays in macroeconomics, 3 essays in international finance. If you go through my CV, you can see the title of some of my students' thesis. 3 essays means in macroeconomics, 1 will be in public finance, 1 will be in monetary economics, 1 will be in forex market. So 3 essays. So ultimately, PhD is what? PhD is to gain some training for research. Okay, whether you do it here or do it there, doesn't matter. Sometimes if there is the issues might be interrelated. Minimum 3 objectives. Okay, and each objective should be developed as a chapter. Empirical, there should be rigorous, analysis of data using tools as much as possible. Okay, and each chapter should have some validation. So that means there will be 3 important analytical chapters in the thesis. Okay, and these 3, suppose I do something like this, I'll show you my publication. I hope you are able to see this. Okay, this is the paper I was discussing with you so far. Published in Economics Letters in 2007, Asymmetric Exchange Rate Intervention and International Reserve Accumulation in India. Naveen Srinivasan is my student, and right now he is a professor in Madras School of Economics. Okay, if you see this, it is just only 4 pages, and you see this, two, three, four. That's all, 5 pages. Very brief article, but this talks a lot. This article talks a lot. Whoever wants to work in the area of official intervention in the forex market, they have to refer this article. Without referring, if they are doing something, it is incomplete. They have not understood the review properly. They are not, the review is incomplete. So that should be the idea. That should be the idea. That should be the motive. When you pick up an issue, don't replicate anything that what others have done. So he has done this, I will do this, I will do this for country, he has done. So he has done it for time series data, I'll do it for panel data. I don't encourage my students on that line. Okay, they have to think. It might take some time, but the planning and execution is very easy. But planning and coming out with an idea is very, very important. This is advice, and this is how I guide my students. And none of the students have any, whatever they publish, it will be elsewhere. Or Springer, Taylor and Francis, top class international. See, that's another problem. Top class international publication, very difficult to reach. Okay, but in the middle there's a ranking. I Let me talk to you. Actually, this will be for commerce, finance, management, economic students. There is a journal ranking done by Australian Business Dean School, ABDC. Okay, the ABDC ranking of journal is very important. They have more than 1,000 journals, and they rate journals A star, A, B, C. So I tell my students they could succeed. So many predatory journals. So the where do you publish is very important. There are, rather than publishing in those kind of journals. Okay. So you have to identify among the A journals or B at least. Okay, B. For them to get into any institution of repute. Both of them went to Madras School of Economics, and they were faculties there for 3 years. Yes, that one paper certify the quality of kind of quality work that they have done for their PhD. Okay, but that one paper might take 3 years of their duration. Okay, but doesn't matter. But now, where are they? One fellow is in IIT. I think for most of Kerala, this person, this particular candidate of my student, I have to tell, okay, because he's from Kerala, and the place where from he is, there is a place called Attapadi. Okay, sometime I visited his house also. There is no facility. You have to go by car and leave the cars in some place. From there, you take jeep and you go in the jeep for some distance. Then from there, you have to walk down to his house. How much you would have struggled to go for a schooling, complete the schooling and colleges. And now he is an IIT. He is an IIT professor. Okay, so Attapadi to IIT is basically a big journey, academic journey, and he had to face a lot of struggles. But the success is basically commitment and the quality of publication, the quality of research he has done. And he was there in Madras School for 3 years. Then he has gone to IIT Goa, and he is now well established teacher as well as researcher. And not only he, number of my students, okay, and they are really doing well. My first student is a professor in University of Hyderabad. Naveen is, of course, my PG student in Google Institute of Politics and Economics in Pune, and he has done a lot of work with me, and he is now excellent teacher, researcher, and professor in Madras School of Economics. So you have to, most of them, and the other guy, they are all from some of the Kashmiri students. They are all really doing well in India as well as abroad. Okay, so if you ask me, sir, what is the success behind your academic journey? It's a kind of the quality of research that we did and the quality of teaching we did. Okay, and suppose you see this lecture is basically to tell you the procedures. Okay, the logical sequence to be followed when you are doing a research. You have to observe by reading or by looking at data. By reading some literature and by looking at some data, you will get an idea. Then go to the data and examine whether this could be correct or wrong, how to question it, and what are the questions already raised in the literature. That is a review. After completing, at the end of completing the review, you are sitting on the frontier to think. There, you have to think how to bring in value addition to this literature. Okay, having for that, you have to understand what actually already being done. So you have to exhaust the existing studies on that particular issue. Okay. So normally what I do, I go first observe the data, then get into the theoretical models, then get into the empirical framework. Okay, whether it's fitting into the theoretical framework, the observation, the way the data is behaving, and that is exactly what I did here. Exactly what I did here. Okay, and uh, with this, yeah, I said this, the size of the thesis, three objectives, three empirical chapters. So that means there will be an introductory chapter, there will be summary of your thesis, totally five chapters, runs into 100 to 120 pages. Only one thesis, went up to 120 or 30 pages. So the size is very small, but there are three empirical, rigorously researched empirical issues as a content of the thesis. Okay, and that is very important. So don't think of framing 10 objectives, developing 10 chapters, and making the thesis in volumes. No one has time to read all these things. Okay, and I know, see, thesis, you might have done some wonderful work, but publishing that is very important, because once the viva is over, you yourself won't read your thesis. That's all. But once you publish the work that you have done in the form of papers in journals, that will tell you, that are the proven records. Okay, that's the proven records for the quality of work that you have done. So I always encourage my students that whatever they do, they have to market it. They have to market where? Nowadays, there are so many journals, you give some money, they will print. When I go for selection committee across India, okay, the moment I see such kind of publications in some predatory journal, that itself is a disregard for a CV. I will straight away tell the vice chancellor or the concerned people there, I don't want this candidate. So if you have one paper, that's fine, but the one paper should be of good quality. Okay, so more than the numbers, the quality is very important. Okay, so with this, uh, from my side, let me conclude. And once again, I'll thank the organizers for getting me this opportunity to discuss with you. And of course, some of these things you might have found it little difficult to follow and understand, but this is a this I they took as a case study basically to document and express that what should be the logical way of thinking to arrive at an idea which will give you a researchable issue where you will not have more data constraints. Sometimes you come out with a very exciting idea. If there is no data, PhD is a time bound project. Okay, time bound project. And you cannot afford to spend 1 year, 2 years on data itself and finally say that there is no data. Or, so you have to identify an issue where you will not have much data limitations also. Okay, so these are the issues that you have to take into account. I think that is a context in which your supervisor must play an important role. Okay, so that there is no waste of time. And whatever the information is given, the given time is more potentially utilized by the candidates. Behind this conference, and now the platform is open. If there is anyone to raise question, please go ahead. Clarify some doubts, you can go ahead. Ian?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me, Kurian?
Yeah, it's $1 million question which every research student has
Yeah.
thought 1,000 times, sir. You're such a wonderful
Yeah.
partner to us, and you have done it in the best manner. And since now is the time for questions, or if there are any concerns, anything to be discussed, I mean, sir will be opening his thoughts on those areas.
No people. It's a lot of students, Kurian.
Yes, sir. Students are there. Research scholars are there. Even faculty members are also there.
There are no questions.
No questions, sir. Probably because it's 100% clear, I suppose.
It could be the other way around also.
Probably
So I hope, but
those when those econometrics formulas were there.
I think they might have got little scared of these equations, models,
Yeah,
and
yeah. At least a few of the students would have been definitely be scared after seeing
yeah.
those formulas.
So, but I had no other option then. But I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
worried
of
about
course.
the equation and
Yeah,
model, but the logical way of thinking. That's the reason
yes. That was
I
very much
thought
clear, and
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, now I request our head of the department, Dr. Jisha George, to propose the vote of thanks.
Our distinguished resource person, Dr. M. Ramachandran, Faculty Coordinator, C. Kurian V. John, dear participants, colleagues, and students. It is with immense pleasure I am here to propose vote of thanks to our distinguished guest. As you all know, QUAESITIO 2022-23 is a multidisciplinary online international conference, and as part of this conference, PG and Research Department of Commerce has arranged an invited talk by most eminent resource person, Dr. M. Ramachandran. And I am really thankful to Ramachandran sir for your energetic and simple talk. As Kurian sir said, he has explained a very complex topic in the most simple manner. How to identify a research topic, how to analyze a research problem, how to arrive at conclusion, and how to publish it in recognized journals. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your energetic and simple talk. And I'm sure that all the participants are benefited from your talk. Thank you once again, sir.
Yeah,
And I utilize this opportunity to extend sincere gratitude to our conference coordinator, C. Kurian V. John, who is the backbone of this conference. And I extend our sincere gratitude to C. Kurian V. John. Thank you, sir. I also extend thanks to all the participants, my dear colleagues and students. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss.
yeah.
Now
Thank
we'll
you.
break for lunch and we'll resume our session sharp at 1 p.m. We are having 16 paper presentations in the afternoon session. So please be on time. Thank you.
So let me sign off, Kurian.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Kurian. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.